Yo, what is up? So I am white, I am straight, I am a male, I am cisgender, I am muscular, I am as muscular as any person who has ever lived and dare not to ye say otherwise. I am intelligent, I am handsome, I am humble, and just amazing on general. So I have some jokes. I would like to go through them with you. So here we go. How did the Lone Ranger refer to Tonto after he was diagnosed with cancer? Kemosabi. Where do classical music enjoying biker gangs enjoy drinking? Handlebars. I think Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium would have been a better movie if he'd been called Mr. McGrip Club. Why was the cow shivering? It was Frisian. Did you hear about the Viggo Mortensen film in which he portrays a real dangerous string section musician? It's called A History of Violins. Famous idiot Matt Walsh was asked recently if Laura Loomer's "The White House will smell like curry" remarks with regard to Kamala Harris entering the White House as President of the United States. Being the arbiter of racism, Matt Walsh replied, "No, of course not. How could you possibly say such a thing?" As Harris is also black as well as having Indian heritage, it would have made sense for Candace Owens to chime in talking about the only food you'll be able to get in the White House will be watermelon and chicken. That seems like it would have made sense. It was good of the 9/11 attack planners to pick that date because it helped people remember the number for the fire service. 2,977 people died on 9/11. Very sad, very upsetting, because they were predominantly white. 43,000 people have died in the Israel-Hamas war, aka the Palestinian genocide, and nobody gives a shit. Because they're predominantly brown. That is how that works. The 19 hijackers in the 9/11 attacks came from Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Lebanon. Their boss, Osama bin Laden, was from Saudi Arabia. So it made perfect sense to retaliate by invading Iraq. Being straight is actually pretty gay. You're attracted to someone you could easily beat up. Women are stupid and slow and weak and need to be taken care of like a hurt little deer that bleeds for 5 days out of every month. It's pretty gay. It's probably should stop being so gay. Candace Owens is famously opposed to affirmative action because she says it hurts black people. She likes to quote fellow race traitor Thomas Sowell by saying, "All of the black students at Cornell University were on academic probation because they weren't of the same caliber as the white students." Why did the T-Rex buy Voltarol? He was dinosaur. Did you know that Bill Haley was an Arab tribal leader? He was referred to as Shake, Rattle and Roll. Jimmy Carr, my favourite stand-up comedian, absolutely hilarious person, has never told an unfunny joke in his life, said that up until 50 years ago, no one had ever had a hot shower. The ancient gymnasium in Pergamum had technologically advanced showers. So that is approximately 2,200 years ago that people were having hot showers. All good jokes, I think you'll agree. I'm looking pretty muscular today. I've done approximately 1,000 push-ups in less than 1 hour. Done it many times. I also ran approximately a half a marathon yesterday because I can also run as well as being able to lift weights. So I am a real physical specimen. If you can only lift weights, if you can only move heavy objects and you cannot run or do cardiovascular exercise, you are in fact not a real man and you should stop claiming to be a real man immediately. Let's go back over the jokes currently. So I began by listing things that I am and suggesting that perhaps those things may make me a superior being. There are people who believe that white people are the master race. There are people who believe that straight people are living the best situation they can. There are people who believe that men are better than women. There are people that believe that cisgender is the way to be, and anyone that is transgender needs to stop doing that immediately and get with the program and be comfortable in their own bodies, even though they're not actually. I'm muscular, I'm intelligent, handsome, humble, all these things. I'm just listing attributes that I have. I don't have a choice about most of them, but I don't believe I'm superior in many ways. I feel like maybe intellectually I am more intelligent than some people, but I don't think that necessarily makes me superior. I feel like superior is just a loaded word because it kind of brings to mind ideas of a master race, like a Nazi master race, and no one is really a fan of that. So I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like I want to live in an egalitarian world in which everyone is equal, despite having various attributes that may be considered to be superior or other synonyms of that nature to other people. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but my shoulder hurts at the moment, so I'm sort of at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to shoulder feeling good, and my back hurts a little bit and my left hip hurts a little bit. Basically, my entire left side is not great. Like, my eyesight in my left eye is not as good as my right eye. Pain in my left shoulder, pain in my left hip, pain in my left lower back. So it's just like, what is going on with that? I feel like my left side got a raw deal, but these are first world problems. My wallet is too small for all my 20s. My diamond slippers are too tight, etc. So let's go back over the jokes presently. How did the Lone Ranger refer to Tonto after he was diagnosed with cancer? Kemosabe means faithful friend, and it also sounds like chemo's in there, and people who have cancer often get chemotherapy treatment. So that's why that one is funny. Where the classical music, so handlebars, like there was that gentleman, George Friedrich Handel, who was a classical musician, classical composer. And so if you were a classical music enjoying biker gang, of course you would go to handlebars, because that is something that is on motorbikes. Not handlebars. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. It's like that kids film. I don't even know if I've ever seen it, but I just felt like it's such a weird name for a title of a book/film. So I sort of felt like, what if he had a different name? What would the place be called that he was running? Mr. McGrip Club's Wonder Strip Club is the joke there. rather annoying. Got like a cut on my forehead. One of many injuries sustained during my career as a parent to two little children, no doubt. Did you hear about the cow shivering? It was Frisian is a breed of cow, and it sounds like he is freezing, so that is why that cow would be shivering. Did you hear about the Viggo Mortensen? So Viggo Mortensen was in that film, History of Violence. So I suggested that maybe he's in another film where he's a real dangerous guy who's a violinist. So that would be History of Violins. I've definitely seen History of Violence, but I feel like I always get it confused with that Russian one he was in, where he played a real dangerous Russian dude. He's played a dangerous dude in a few films, so I just feel like I get them confused sometimes. So I think this one, it was like Ed Harris was the bad guy, and they kind of shot each other at the end, so that was that one. Famous idiot Matt Walsh. Yeah, Matt Walsh, I don't know why he gets asked any questions on any topic at all, because he's such a bumbling idiot. I recently saw him on the Joe Rogan podcast, where he and Joe had a kind of debate about the moon landings, and it was like Matt Walsh happened to be on the right side. For once in his life, he was like, "No, I'm pretty sure we actually did land on the moon. Like it would be just unbelievably difficult to fake that." And Joe Rogan was like, "Well, I think there is definitely a possibility that the moon landings were faked." So they're this sort of back and forth. And because Matt Walsh is such a moron, he couldn't form like cogent, points in his argument to get across the fact that it would be basically impossible to fake the moon landings. So many people would have to have been involved in faking it that, and the Russians would have to agree to like not whistleblow the fakeness of the Americans landing on the moon. There are just so many things pointing to the obvious, plausibility of man having landed and walked on the moon, etc. So, but he was asked about this Laura Loomer saying that the White House would smell of curry if, and he was like, I like curry, I enjoy curry. So if the White House smelled a curry, I would like it. So therefore it cannot be racist. Which, it's like saying you're scum, you're like scum, you're servile scum, you're like rats, you're like pests, you're like little insects. But I love insects, I love rats, I love scum, they're all things that I love, so that can't be racist. I don't really understand. Is that black people in slave times used to be called boy? That was the big thing. Like black dudes would be called boy by their white masters. So like, I love boys. So calling you boy can't possibly be racist, can it? And I feel like the people who are best placed to say if a thing is racist would be people of that race, because obviously, like Kamala has mixed heritage. She has some heritage from India, some black heritage. So it's like, she is probably best placed, or someone of a similar background is best placed to say whether or not a thing was racist. And then it's like, surely Candace Owens would have jumped on that bandwagon and been like, oh, actually, hold on, she's black as well. So I hate black people, and black people famously eat watermelon and chicken. So here we go. If she got into the White House, all you'd be able to eat in there would be watermelon and chicken. So I feel like these things, just bundle them all together. Just get all the racist people together, get them to say all the racist stuff imaginable about a presidential candidate, and then they could just say, well, we're not actually being racist because I like watermelon, I like chicken, so how could it possibly be racist? It was just, so, like, joking about the 9/11 attacks, I think I've just been thinking about it a lot recently. Like, it was such a mad thing to have happened, and it was so surreal to watch it on TV, and it feels like so long ago now. I think it's just like replaying in my brain randomly, because the human brain is kind of a weird thing where you start thinking about something and it just kind of reverberates in there, and especially like the prevalence of YouTube, like the fact that you could just watch like YouTube videos of the events of 9/11, and you can go over them step by step, and you can go on Wikipedia and explore this different information that we have now that has come out over the years. So like picking 9/11 as a date, it sort of, it doesn't work in other countries, because like in the UK we have a different date format, so we don't say 9/11, like that isn't how our date format works. But like for Americans to have 9/11 as that, you know, point in their history that is so formative and so important and upsetting and has so much meaning attached to it, and then that also being the number for their emergency services is hilarious. I don't know. The sun's just decided to come out, so I feel like I'm getting blinded a little bit, but you know, worse things have happened. 2,977 people died in 9/11, not including the hijackers, because no one wants to count those fucking scumbags. Another approximately 2,000 people have died subsequently of related illnesses since the 9/11 attacks, and we're all incredibly upset about that. We continue to be upset about that because they were predominantly white. Yeah, I think there's a thing where, because we're living through this Israel-Hamas war, aka Palestinian genocide presently, it's so upsetting to witness these people getting killed in horrible ways, and there being attacks that are as brutal as 9/11, like people dying in large numbers in a similar fashion to 9/11, like people dying in buildings, crushed under buildings, burning alive, all this kind of stuff. So the fact that 2,977 people died at that point, and we're all very upset about it, continue to be upset about it, but like 43,000 people have died, mostly Palestinian people, mostly brown people, and no one gives a shit. No one gives a flying fuck, and I don't understand it. I don't understand when no one gives a shit. Like, no one's trying to stop it. It just feels like it's going to go on forever, and eventually basically all of Palestinian people will be wiped off the face of the earth, and no one seems to have any interest in ending it. Yeah, the hijackers on 9/11 were from varied countries, predominantly Saudi Arabia. I think like 15 of them were from Saudi Arabia. The remainder were from UAE, Lebanon, Egypt. But yeah, some bin Laden from Saudi Arabia. So the fact that George W. Bush decided in retaliation to invade Iraq made perfect sense, really. And yeah, it's a pretty disturbing situation, and the Iraq war ended in a kind of debacle as well. Like, there was no government left there to run the country. Like, yeah, it was just a disastrous exit from that country, and it continues to be a pretty yeah, just like mad country where you just look at it and you're like, okay, so America's just screwed it over just a bit more. Like, it's worse than when they before they invaded it, so it's kind of pointless. Being straight is actually pretty gay. I saw these two blokes on Instagram saying that being straight was actually pretty gay, and I thought it was funny, so I basically just stole their joke and told it almost the same. Because it's like, if being called gay is like you like girly things, you like a girl, you're a soft one, you're not a real man. So like being straight, like being attracted to these women who are like disgusting and weak and feeble and puny, you can beat them up so easily. Like, they can't really put up a fight against you because men are so much stronger than women. Like, be a real man. Like, get with a man who can actually like be your intellectual and physical equal, and who maybe could put up a fight if you decided to punch him in the face or like start a bit of domestic violence with him. Like maybe he'll be able to. Yeah, Candace Owens is a demon. She's basically a demon at this point. Like every time I look at Candace Owens, she pops up from time to time when I'm just going through, when I'm like doom scrolling through stuff. She just pops up and starts talking about I just hate black people so much. The fact that she references Thomas Sowell, Sowell, whatever the fuck his name is, another race traitor, another piece of shit, who basically his whole career was just calling black people like dumbos. And like he was professor at Cornell University, I believe, or like he did a study on Cornell University where it was like in the 60s, and there was a minuscule black population at that, because it's referred to as a predominantly white institution, a PWI, which I didn't even know was a thing. Like that's a thing that, because schools in America were segregated for many years, now there are like historically black universities and historically white universities. So like you get there's still like a massive disparity between blacks and whites in these universities. So like the fact that that he was referencing Cornell, which is a historically white institution, and it's like in the 60s especially, it's like a foolish time to look at university in terms of like, right, let's see how the black people are getting on at this university. Because like the actual statistics are, I think like when he was doing the study, like 50% of the black students there were on academic probation, which basically means you're just not keeping up with what's going on. You're like your grades are not up to scratch and this kind of stuff. But like in 1963, there were 4 black students out of 2,300 like sophomores coming into university. So that's like 0.17%. So if you go to university, right, and you're in a cohort of like 2,300 people, and there's four black people, so you're there with like 3 other black people, that's going to immediately kind of like make you feel like you stand out. It's going to isolate you. It's going to make you feel like, okay, so this whole place is just full of white people. And especially in the 60s, like there was a lot of racism going on. So you kind of have this feeling of like, I'm not welcome here, even though this affirmative action is going on, even though like there is this governmental push to make it more egalitarian and black people to have a better chance at going to a good university. And Cornell has historically been a good university, even though it's always been, white. And so like Candace Owens' point was, it's like the quote was, these are the cream of the crop. So she's saying these black students are the best of the black people that exist, right? And she said they're not able to keep up with their white peers. Like if they went to another university, one that was predominantly black, they'd be at the top of their class. But because they're going to this university that's predominantly white, they're at the bottom of the class. They're really struggling. They're not able to keep up with their peers, their superior peers, their white peers, because white people are superior. So she had a real problem with that. Even 1968, towards the end of the 60s, there were 94 students at Cornell. So it just feels like, going to university and being a minority, like it would make you feel like alienated. It would make you feel like, am I welcome here? And that's going to impact your academic ability. Like if you're stressing out about like feeling like the odd one out, feeling like a pariah, then that's going to make you feel, a bit sidetracked. Like your focus isn't going to be entirely on your studies. So as always, Thomas Sowell, if he had done a proper study on black students at universities, how well they were getting on, then it wouldn't have fit with his pre-existing notion that black people are inferior to white people. Candace Owens, same thing. So that's that one. T-Rex, using Voltarol. Voltarol is if you got a sore back like I do. I've used Voltarol before. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't touch the pain for me. But maybe T-Rexes would have liked to have had Voltarol because they were dinosaur. I guess it makes sense, does it? I don't know. I just wanted to end with some like light jokes because I've been talking about some pretty heavy stuff. So I feel like ending with Bill Haley, who famously sang that song "Shake, Shake, Rattle and Roll." So if he was an Arab tribal leader, then it would have been like shake spelt in that way, rattle and roll. Jimmy Carr, famous, hilarious comedian, favorite comedian, best comedian ever, never told a racist or homophobic or transphobic or just like really horrific and disgusting joke in his life. Great guy. He said that we should be grateful to be living in this current epoch because we get to enjoy all of these modern, advancements such as hot running water, such as hot showers. Because before 50 years ago, no one had had a hot shower. So he must be aware of ancient Egypt. He must be aware of ancient Egypt being a technologically advanced civilization that was like famous for having running water at least. Like that is definitely a universally known thing. And like they invented the Olympics, and like in the Olympics there were hot showers. Like that was a thing, like famously. And the gymnasium at Pergamum, there's like a whole shower brand called Pergamum, which is like showers. That's where it comes from. And those were 2,200 years ago. So that's... No one had had a hot shower before 2,200 years ago. But I mean, you couldn't even say that because maybe there's going to be another, archaeological dig that uncovers a slightly older set of showers. So... very concerning stuff. Those are all the jokes I wanted to go through with you. I've also gone over them again for clarity's sake. We're currently living in very difficult, well, not extremely difficult, slightly difficult and upsetting times when people are dying on the news. There is constant news updates of people dying in war zones. And yeah, so I feel like telling jokes is my way of dealing with these feelings of being upset about the situation. And I think it helps my mental health to make these videos. That's why I'm doing it. If I didn't enjoy making them, then I would stop doing it immediately. I'm not being held against my will. There isn't a gun held at my head off camera. So please do not contact the authorities immediately to get me out of here. Please. So you take care. Peace.